Hey, viewers and viewresses, my name is General Red Strategist. Welcome back to Sir You're Being Hunted. This is episode 285. Now, unfortunately, my Oblivion challenge didn't come to much in the last episode. That kind of went a bit wrong for me, didn't it? Well, that's unfortunate, but you know what? What I'm thinking for this episode, we'll just do another kind of podcast type episode. I'll have a little chat and all that. But in reference to the Oblivion challenge, I'm thinking about having another go at that, but just giving it another shot because it was kind of entertaining. You know, me messing around, shouting Oblivion lines at some of the robots. But if I was to do it again, probably what I would do is maybe change the rules up a little bit. So next time I do that, I might. Rather than, well, I might keep the basic premise of it in that whenever I charge in for a device piece, I have to do the whole stop, you violated the law, now pay with your bloodline and all that. I'll do that, but I think I may change the rule about, the weapons, because the thing is, the reason I got killed there was pretty much because I was charging in with just an axe, and I was up against shotguns, so yeah, that didn't go too well, did it? But I think really what I'll probably do if and when I do that challenge again, is maybe sort of change it so that I don't just have to use an axe. Maybe I'll permit guns to be used if necessary. So that way, I have a bit more of a chance. Because the thing is, it would have been a challenge that, that particular way of doing things, if, of course, I had survived more than 2 episodes. Because I imagine I would have got to a point in that challenge where eventually I would have potentially started getting myself killed, at least quite easily. Especially when, things like poachers and riders are spawning and what have you. That could have made things a whole lot more difficult. But, that's just a future plan, and I'll keep it in mind. And I'll probably have another go at it. I don't know when. Probably sometime soon, I'm not sure. Depends on what sort of challenges are on my list. And if there's anything that, particularly takes my fancy anytime soon. That's the thing, I have all kinds of challenge suggestions. Not just from viewers, but also ideas of my own that I sometimes put together, including, ideas from challenges that I've actually done before, but which I wouldn't mind maybe doing again, because they were quite fun, or they were a bit sort of unique, or whatever. So yeah, that's something potentially just to look forward to. Fucking hell, I can't talk this afternoon. What am I doing? Yeah, for example, one challenge that I've thought about doing again. So, you guys all out there will all remember the old parkour assassin challenge. You remember that one? The one where I have to stand on top of a building, and then I have to snipe enemies from atop the buildings, things like that. I might do one like that again, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how I feel, because it was a unique little challenge, that one was, and I quite enjoyed it, like I say. So maybe I'll do that one again at some time. But the main thing actually that I wanted to do in this here podcast style episode, main thing I wanted to talk about wasn't actually challenges or anything in that regard. There's actually an interesting topic on my mind. And it's, hence one reason why I decided to do a podcast style episode. Now, those of you out there who follow my Captain Claw series, of course, you might be familiar with the fact that me and Phil actually talked about this in the most recent Captain Claw episode 60, whichever number it was. And basically, what we were talking about in that episode, we talked about various things. Phil was, asking me how did I come across Captain Claw, that game. And I was telling him a bit, about that, refreshing his memory. Incidentally, if you have not watched my Captain Claw series, I would highly recommend that you do. Captain Claw is a fascinating little game from 1997. Really, it's kind of a childhood favourite of mine. Played it when I was a kid, really enjoyed it, but then stopped playing it after a few years and haven't, and picked it up again here on the channel after so many years of not playing it. And yeah, just something fun. And so we decided to do an episode as a kind of collab, as we sometimes do. And, like I say, Phil got onto the subject of how did I come to originally play Captain Claw, how did I come to kind of be in possession of it, and all that. And I was telling him about that. But what that conversation actually got us more onto was the subject of other games from the 90s, which we remember, and one that I actually mentioned to Phil, because it was a game which I vaguely remember a friend of mine back in childhood playing, but which I could never remember the name of. Was a game called Heart of Darkness, which I think was made in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. And Heart of Darkness was a sort of almost like a 2D side-scroller, except not quite. So it was 2D, the game, but it wasn't like a proper side-scroller. So the game world, like the levels, would be made up of screens and you'd sort of move between them. But it very much had a lot of platforming action, stuff like that in it. And but it was also, Heart of Darkness was also most kind of infamous for something else. So in the game, from what I remember, you play as this sort of kid. I think his name was Andy, and there's a lot of talk that he was kind of loosely perhaps inspired by the Andy from Toy Story, because I think the original Toy Story came out in the 90s, didn't it, if I'm not mistaken. And the storyline of Heart of Darkness was that this kid, Andy, has like a fear of the dark, he has an abusive teacher at school, and one day his dog gets sucked up through a wormhole in this eclipse and taken to this strange world. And so Andy, who rather, plot convenience here, but has this sort of junk spaceship that he's built in his treehouse, basically goes off to rescue his dog, Whiskey, and he ends up basically on this really quite spooky kind of alien planet that's inhabited by these horrible kind of shadow monsters. And on the face of it, the graphics of Heart of Darkness, obviously, they're dated by today's standards, but they are a bit sort of cartoonish. And on the one hand, if you look at it on the face of it, it kind of looks like something that's aimed at kids. But what Heart of Darkness was most kind of infamous for was the fact that it was actually not really suitable for kids at all. Because although there was no kind of blood or guts in it, and I mentioned this in Captain Claw Ep 60 when I was talking about this with Phil, even though there was no kind of blood or guts, some of the ways your character, Andy, could die were actually quite disturbing when you thought about what it was you're actually seeing. So, for example, from what I remember, there were like, your character could fall down great distances, he could get crushed by heavy objects, he could get basically ripped apart by friggin' evil, horrible wildlife and shadow monsters, things like that. It was crazy, because of course the game when it came out was rated E for everyone, and yet when we think about it, it was not really suitable for everyone at all, was it? Because as a game, it was full of absolute just horrifying shit that probably traumatised more than a few children. So don't know what the classification board was thinking when they gave that one an E for everyone. But that's Heart of Darkness, and I think for like I say, for a long time, I vaguely remembered it from my childhood, but I could never remember what the name of it was, that game. Until not too long ago, when I found out that Game Grumps had actually done a playthrough of it on their channel, and I found it again and rediscovered it, and it was one of those kind of horrible, oh my god, this is so terrifyingly familiar, this feels like some kind of repressed memory sort of thing. So even though I never played that game, I remember a friend of mine playing it, and I remember hearing that it was just really fucking hard as a game, and a bit sort of nightmarish. But yes, that makes me wonder, actually. I wonder if you can get Heart of Darkness anywhere. I doubt it's on Steam. I doubt it, in fact, it's on GOG either. I wonder if it's considered abandonware now. There's probably a lot of games from the sort of 90s which today are just sort of forgotten and are now considered to be just complete abandonware. Because I know that there are sites out there like myabandonware.com where you can get old games which, technically are still copyrighted, and so technically, if you download from there, you are pirating, but the chances of the original developers actually even necessarily still being around to actually potentially try and prosecute you for it are very low. But yeah, so Heart of Darkness, who knows, maybe it's on an abandonware site somewhere. But what else was it? That's actually not the main subject I was going to talk about. What I was kind of going to talk about more generally was the fact that, of course, Heart of Darkness, for anyone who maybe doesn't know, I think was the brainchild of a French video game producer by the name of Eric Chahi, or Chahi, however you pronounce it, who I think is actually maybe a bit more famous for a game called Another World, or Out of This World, something like that, which actually had a kind of similar premise to Heart of Darkness. I believe Another World actually came first, though. But essentially it was, I think that game was about a scientist who travels to an alien world, something like that, and has to kind of then escape from it, or something or other, something along those lines. I don't know. But yeah, so Eric Chahi, by the sound of it, has a thing for that kind of storyline. Person going to another world, you know, being kind of attacked by all kinds of terrible alien creatures and whatever else have you, and having to potentially find their way out. But yeah, it just kind of, you know, it just got me thinking about Chahi games more generally when I was thinking about Heart of Darkness. But yes, I'm pretty sure Eric Chahi at one point in his career did work for Ubisoft. And Ubisoft, of course, you know, they've made all kinds of interesting games in the past. I think he may well, at one time in his career, have worked with Michel Ancel. And Michel Ancel, of course, is famous among video game circles as being the original creator of Rayman, Beyond Good and Evil, which are games that, you know, well, which are franchises, I should say, with games that I've played before and which I've thoroughly enjoyed. You know, I've never played the original Rayman. I've played Rayman 2, I've played Rayman 3, I've played Rayman M, I've played Rayman Origins, but I've never played Rayman, the original game. I'm pretty sure, though, that you can get Rayman 1 on either Steam or GOG, one or the other. Maybe I'll have to look into that. I think I probably will, in fact. You know, I would... Because the thing is, right, I have played Rayman 2 and Rayman 3 here on the General Red Strategist channel. You know, if you haven't seen those series, go and check them out, just search them, and they'll come up, or just search through my playlists and you'll find them. And they, you know, they were good series. But maybe I'll come back and do some more Rayman at some point. Maybe I'll do the original. Because, you know, that way I can say I've actually played the one that started it all. Who knows? But yeah, getting back to the topic at hand, I'm pretty sure Eric Chahi at some point did work for Ubisoft, and so may or may not have worked with Michel Ancel. Of course, Michel Ancel, you know, is pretty well known, I would say, in a lot of video gaming circles. He's kind of he's one of those sort of names which I think is quite iconic in the video game industry, along with, you know, the likes of Eric Chahi. Hideo Kojima, of course, is another kind of famous example of someone whose name is, I think, pretty well known in the video game industry. An auteur, I think that's what you call them, of video game design and production. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, sorry, I kind of just went off on one there about that sort of whole topic. Oh man, yeah, I'll have to check that, see if Eric Chahi games are actually, you know, can be downloaded anywhere. See if you can get them sort of legitimately. But I wouldn't be, like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if sites like My Abandonware actually do have, you know, games like Heart of Darkness and things like that for download on them. Whether they would work, I don't know. That's the thing, you know, Abandonware is a kind of peculiar sort of thing, because of course it's of a sort of legal status which is not entirely clear, as I've said. Because on the one hand, you know, technically if you're downloading stuff from an Abandonware site, you might not be doing it legally. Unless, you know, at some point in the past the original creator have said game or software or whatever actually said that they didn't mind it being distributed for free as freeware or whatever. But you know, if you don't actually have confirmation of that, then I suppose the real kind of question is, you're technically kind of pirating, or rather downloading a pirated copy of a game. Well, technically, would it be a pirated copy? Or a copy that someone has basically uploaded somewhere, probably not with the permission of the original developers? Which, I'm guessing, that would be the definition, wouldn't it, of a pirated piece of entertainment? But yeah, so technically what you're doing is downloading something pirated. But of course, because it's abandonware, there's that whole thing about, would the developers, the original developers of that piece of software, would they really care that you're basically downloading something which has been uploaded to the internet without permission? Interesting question. But yes, it's just an interesting topic. I know the internet has very kind of divided views when it comes to piracy. Because of course, you know, you get people out there who say you shouldn't really do that because it's theft. And you know, it's that fear of you're taking money away from someone who might have, you know, worked really hard on that creation. And I'll be honest, when it comes to online piracy, I am more inclined towards that camp, that school of thought. I don't think I've ever pirated something. If I actually, well, no, I don't know. If I have, I'm not going to say. Obviously, just to, you know, cover my own back. But you know, I'm personally very much of that school, which is that I would not pirate something just because, I don't know, it's kind of a principled sort of thing, I guess. But yeah, that's obviously not a view that everyone shares, though. Some people out there kind of think that sometimes pirating can be good. Yeah, I don't know. People out there have their own ways of justifying it, and I'm not sure I always agree with the kind of reasoning behind it sometimes. But hey, whatever. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Let's not. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this and potentially getting myself into this whole quagmire of a debate. Because I've always seen how, I don't know, on the internet when people start debating this, it often just kind of goes around in circles, and people just get sort of heated, start getting a bit angry with one another, that sort of thing. So you gotta just watch out for it. But you know, if you want to have a debate with me in the comments about it, that's fine. We'll do, as long as, you know, we just keep it sort of civil. That's absolutely fine. Well, covered a whole range of topics there, didn't we? Starting out talking about, you know, future challenges here for the Sir You're Being Hunted series. Then, of course, got to the main thing, Heart of Darkness. Went on to Eric Chahi. Well, no, we didn't. Well, actually, that's not the chain that we went through, is it? It's future challenges here on the channel. That's what we did first. Then I talked about Captain Claw, technically first. Captain Claw Ep 60. Then we went on to Heart of Darkness. Then Eric Chahi, Another World. A bit about Ubisoft, Rayman, Michelin Cell, stuff like that. And now here we are, talking about abandonware and the whole questions about online piracy and whatever else have you. It's amazing sometimes, when you look back over my podcast-style episodes, the weird sort of chain of topics that I end up going through. Especially when, you know, Phil's involved, and we have that kind of collab, we have that sort of back-and-forth kind of dialogue between each other. Always fascinating. It's like a game of Chinese whispers. Start out with one topic, and before you know it, you're onto something completely different. But you know, even you know, in conversations when I've not had Phil there, you know, either in the room or conversing with me via Skype, typically my conversations go in all kinds of weird directions. Well, I use the word weird, not necessarily weird, just random, maybe. Perhaps that's a better word. Yeah, I've been to this farm before. What am I doing? Huh. Never noticed the little sort of slit there in the side of the building. Guess that was always like that. I just never been observant enough to notice it. Right, okay. I'll tell you what, I think we've been recording for a good amount of time there. I think that'll make for a good podcast-style episode. So, I think we shall wrap up here. So, hope you all enjoyed this, everybody. Episode 285 of Sir You're Being Hunted. Having another right good chinwag about various things. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the Propagandist channel link, if you're interested in seeing me do anime gubbins. But in the meantime, I'm going to sign off now. Goodbye, everybody. I hear the other one. Oh god, he's there. Fucking balloons in the way. This way. I want to see how he attacks. God, the poacher's in there. I can see all his traps there. Where's that rider got to there? No. Hey dude, I'm behind you. Oh god, this... Oh, shit. No. Right. Fuck this. Oh my god, I just took out his searchlight beam. Oh, shit. Right, let's see how he attacks. Oh my god, that is terrifying. Oh my... Jesus. Gun. Whoa, fuck. Jesus. Help. I'm one down.